Hello, team, and welcome to the match preview for Grange versus Pine Hills. Time this week has escaped, so we're going to have a match preview. We'll have a more detailed breakdown of North Star. It will probably be influenced by how we perform against Pine Hills, but there are several points. I have reviewed the game. I have got all of my coaching points. I will be using some of them in this match preparation, but I figure it's better to prepare with a view moving forward to the fixture tomorrow. And let's face it, time is getting away a little bit. So, in terms of having reviewed the performance from North Star, the things I wanted to point out was we didn't invest a lot of time in preparing. It was my intention that I just wanted to treat it like a hit out, to have you go out and just play and just see what we have. Put a couple of you in a couple of different positions. Have a look at some of the new boys. We have a lot of new bodies in our front four. We have Nathan, we have Hayden, we have Mal, we have Riley. So that's significantly different to last year, and I think it actually showed. I thought we were not as fluid as we finished last year up front, but that will come, and hopefully this process will accelerate that. Look, it was a big game for North Star, in my opinion. I think the way they carried on, their coach from last year was very, very vocal in the first half. So I think that betrayed how important the fixture was to them, and it would probably be important to me as well. I mean, they have been effectively relegated to Division 4, which means they will have lots of travel in the lowest level of academy football. So to me, we just needed to treat it as a hit out, our first hit out of the year on a full pitch. And if I'm honest, I think that I was actually quite happy with the performance. Like I said, we didn't put any extra effort or energy in. We just took the field and played. And I thought we lost 1-0 to, well, it was a good goal. Credit to them for executing the long ball and a break from the long ball. Mick doing a good job, but getting a fortunate deflection, which allowed them to score. We created plenty of opportunities to win the game, as did they. But on the whole, I thought a draw would probably have been a fair result of the game. But like I said, I'm not really focused on the result. So, to getting onto the coaching points from Friday night. Key points, there are three really. One, we must compete physically. I think one of the things that we take away from Wednesday night is they were very much up for it, and that means if you're very much up for the contest and you're going into the tackles harder than your opposition, you're going harder at the ball, you're running harder, you create half chances, and you tend to get the balance of the 50-50s. And that's something that they did. And I don't think we did as much. So we're going to need to increase that. I'm not saying we need to be violent or aggressive. I thought they were probably a little bit over the top, if I'm completely honest, leaving feet in. And it was a little bit excessive for what's a pre-season match, but that's their right. One thing we didn't do but we need to do is we're just too intent on going forward too quickly. I thought we got sucked into their way of playing. They were putting pressure on the ball as much as they could, and most of their attack centered around just kicking it long for the big guys. I think our way of football that we want to play is playing through the lines. A lot of that is because we have a lot of new players up front, and we will get better at doing that. So that will be a focus of tonight. Secondly, because we were under pressure, we got rushed into playing the ball and going too direct. We had a lot of opportunity to just find the space, so use the width, or even just play it back to our back four. We have a solid back four, and there's no reason why we can't continue to use that. So what I would like to see us to do tomorrow is respect the ball more. And I would like to see us move that, let the ball do the work, keep the ball, keep possession, move it around at the back, move their defence around, and then when we create the space, exploit the space, and then move it from the defence to the midfield, and then through to the attack. And just because a half chance presents doesn't mean to say we need to take it on. We can recycle the ball, we can move it to create width, we can exercise some patience, knowing that if we move them around, we will create opportunities. In defence, once again, patience. When we advance the patience, we can move it left and right as much as we can. And a striker's going to get really sick of chasing the ball left to right. And if he wants to chase it left to right, well, that's fine. Let him do that. He's just going to have less energy to attack with. It's quicker to move the ball through the feet. This is something else in defence. The amount of times we had passes where we're passing across the box and we try to cut out Mick, or we try to bypass one of our players with a longer pass, rushing it to get wide, which is just unnecessary. Mick is good with his feet. You will get the ball from one point to another faster and more accurately if you use a series of short, accurate, concise passes than if you just try to lump a longer pass. And once or twice, there were a couple of near misses where they very nearly cut out passes that were going too direct going wide too directly. Patience in attack. Once again, there are occasions when we had our two cams both basically running away from the ball. So we've got the cams running away from the ball, the striker running away from the ball, the wingers running away from the ball. The amount of times they got cheap ball in the middle of the pitch because we passed early, and everyone was running away from the ball, and their defender just cut forward and intercepted the pass. We have to drop in, receive the ball, and then you can pass it back to the person who passed the ball. They become the carrier, or you can drop into the space and then turn. It stops their defensive line from simply retreating because they have to step up and accommodate the ball, creates opportunities to break their lines. We'll talk about that when we get to the video. Using the width, we got very direct and we didn't create width when we were in possession. Part of that is that when we were in possession, we were rushing possession and going for too direct a passing, which meant we didn't have the ball for periods of time, which means that wingers are less likely to feel comfortable creating the width because they're expecting the ball to turn over very quickly, and then they're going to have to get sucked back into the middle of the pitch. Otherwise, they could get caught out of position. This is something that we'll work on, and it will build as we get more comfortable as a team holding onto the ball. Patience when selecting the pass. Once again, we really did get caught up in the pressure that they were creating on the ball and just forced a lot of passes, and a lot of those passes went astray. Finally, the front three press really wasn't a big factor against North Star because they just lump it forward. Anytime they think that you're going to press, they just boot it up into the middle of the park. But a reminder that with the press, we need to use the 4 Ds of defense: dictate, deny, delay, defend. So the first thing we do is we push the ball left or right, okay? And then we squeeze it. We don't overcommit, but we wait for a mistake. And that mistake may be holding onto the ball too long. It may be forcing them onto their non-dominant foot. It may be a poor touch. Then we execute the press. But once again, anytime their backs look like getting into trouble, they just hoofed it up. So we will now, on the assumption I can find it again. There we go. We'll now go over and have a look at the video. I've got a few bits and pieces that I really wanted to go through. So we'll make that nice and big. There's a little bit for everyone here. The first section of play that I wanted to analyze is at 14:18. So what this is trying to look at is creating space. Okay, so where are we? 14:16. So here we are. So we have a throw. So I'm going to do some lines. I'll get the circles. Yes, I'm going to struggle this year with the circles. So this is how we're lined up. Now we're in possession. So we're in possession. We don't actually need to be as close to the attacking team as what we are there. Have a look at them though. Here they are. This is very much how they set up. They set up, everyone's at the back here, and what they're trying to do is win the ball, and then they lump it up to their strikers. So we have a very congested area up here. So what I would suggest is this whole space, if you have a look at it, you've got, well, 6 of our players, and then you've got 8 of theirs. So it's probably not where we want to be throwing the ball. Instead, my suggestion would be, oops, I just make sure I get it to orange again. Major drops in, Zach drops in, Zach can move across. And then what we can create is the opportunity to create the width. They've got these strikers here, but we have four. We have 3-on-2, 4-on-2 if you include Luke. So if the ball is passed, or thrown, I should say, thrown to Zach, Zach's passed the Major, Major passes to Zach here, and then Zach has the opportunity to dribble into space. And we then have a situation where we can create space because these guys have all got to come across. So my point is, and if we have a look, I'll bin all those changes. I'll get rid of that and we'll watch what happens. So we throw back, but the problem is we throw back, but Zach's too high. And what we're going to end up doing is just kicking up into this mixer. Okay, so we go up to Luke, and then we end up can't kick into the mixer, so we kick over the mixer, and we just surrender possession. Now, this is exactly what they wanted because they want to basically be playing basketball with a soccer, but basketball with a football. All right, they just want to play this booted up. It generates a lot of opportunities for them, lump it up to those big guys and hurt us on the break. And more often than not, they will do that. At some point in time, they'll create opportunities from the break. So if we let it flow through, they've got the ball, and then kaboom, straight up the top end. And we've got these two. They know this is their game, okay? More the point, we've turned it over so quickly, not adjusted positionally. We're mostly on the left-hand side, so he just kicks into the space on the on his left-hand side or our right-hand side of the pitch. Credit where credit's due, that thing's still in the air. Look at it go. He's got a decent long ball off the boot. So they will probably do that and they will play that kind of football. Something else I was going to point out with us playing out and back, if you get into too much trouble, you can kick back to Mick because Mick was well advanced if we looked at him positionally. So now we'll move on to 2102, which is going to very much be a little bit, which is going to be more of the same. What we're talking about here is trying to find options to play through. Okay, so here we go. So Nathan's getting the ball under control. If we have a look at as the play currently stands, we have, I think that is Hayden out there trying to stay on side. Nathan trying to control the ball. Will's on the pitch. That may well be Mal. That's probably Benji, and this is Max. So defenders are flooding back. And they are, as was always the case. They've got plenty of men back behind the ball because they're booting it up to the boys up the front. But we do have 5-on-6. It's not an advantage. But what is significant is we do have Max here, who's running into this space. So if we talk about the game in terms of who controls the space, Max controls this space. Okay, Max controls this space. At the moment, Nathan's going to control this space that's around him. And this is it's also a good example of the difficulty of balls. The first thing he's got to do here, because he's getting a ball up around his hip height, the first thing he's got to do is get the ball under control. And the problem that creates for him is that it's going to create the opportunity for this guy to come and get him. This guy will probably stay wide, but this guy can come in at the ball. He can come in at the ball. So you're asking a lot. If that ball's to Nathan's feet, Nathan turns immediately and he has a whole lot of additional options. But if we just let it go, we'll let him bring it down. So now he's got the ball down and now he's got the ball to his feet. So in this instance, Nathan, you're a bit too direct. Passes now, you're not really going to see the potential to pass to what's it going to be? It's going to be Hayden out this side. Yes, we have the runner, so I think that's Riley. Is it making a run through? But it's going to be very difficult for you to thread this pass here. So this pass is going to be very difficult because you have three North Star bodies in the way. Something they do well is they compress the pitch. Like they're quite physical, they run a lot, they're obviously fit. That pass is really not on. The pass over here, that's really going to be quite difficult to see. So the options really are, and this is where you can do him a favour, Will. You can move out here to create the space. But and you can actually see Max talking. But once again, Max can run into this space. If we can get to the situation where Maxes are getting the space in this position, then all of a sudden that then frees you, Nathan, to move towards goal. And what we end up with is one, two, three, four on four. Will can break this way and create space to spread them, and then we create options to pass through their lines. Um, and that's a really good thing with Will's position here. If he drops, so let's say Will drops and receives the ball here, okay, then we have the situation where we've got Hayden running across from here to create that. Come on, give me an arrow. Thank you. We've got Hayden who can run in from here. We've got Riley here. Nathan can either run here. Probably Riley's going to make a run in this direction and try to take a defender with him. But the point is, this is where I talk about dropping in to play through, because all we're playing here is just a shorter version of long ball. If we see how it unfolds. So once again, kicked into that congestion. This is fine tuning, not massive criticism, Nathan. All right. So I'm going to let it roll through. Even then, Riley still goes very close to winning it. And now we've recovered the ball. Good pressure from Riley. We've recovered the ball. So now Hayden, what we can do now, there's not really much happening in the box. Will has got three people on him. Nathan's making a run, but he's got two on him. I accept that it's probably likely that Hayden and Will, having played a lot of football with each other, they probably look for each other on a football pitch. But that will change as we get more familiar. So in this situation, the good passing options, if we can get a run to here to receive the ball, that's a good option. If we can find Max with a pass, that's a good option. Okay, because then Max can drive into the space, we can move them, we can shift them. If we move defenders around, we create the opportunity for them to make mistakes or lose players. Okay, so my point is, rather than just lumping it into here where they've got lots of bodies and we don't have, like, that's a 4-on-2 there. 5-on-2 if you count this guy. So the better option there is Luke cutting across to receive the ball and open up the park. Everybody can then shift across. They've got decisions to make in their own box, which increases the probability of them making a mistake. But instead, we're just a bit too direct. Way too direct. Gives the defender the chance to win. And this is exactly the kind of football that they want. They stack there to try to defend, and then they try to break. And as it turns out, that's what they've managed to do. Francis is on there. Bang, take that, Max. Anyway, so the point of the story is patience with the ball. Okay, there's no timer. We're not playing basketball. There's no shot clock. All right. So we're going to now skip ahead to 22:17. Okay, so in this situation, this is just talking to Mick about mix options. Now, there's a lot of time. You've got Major here, you've got Francis here, you've got Zach, and I think it's probably Luke over that side. And there are only two defenders. So effectively, we have a 5-on-4. 5-on-2. So effectively, we've got a 5-on-2. So passing options, Zach dropping in, Luke dropping across, Major can drop over this way, Francis drops over to this way. That then gives you, Mick, the opportunity. That gives you the opportunity to get the ball. You can then draw this because he's going to come to the ball. That then gives you the chance to pass the ball. To pass the ball to Major. Okay. This character here is undoubtedly going to be running towards Major, but it then gives Major the opportunity to pass out here. You have to get a better process. But anyway, to pass out here where Francis can then run onto the pass and then dribble us out. Okay. The thing I like about that is we're maintaining possession of the ball. Okay. it's a higher percentage it's higher percentage play, and we're maintaining possession of the ball. And it's really not what North Star want to do, because they want to play this basketball game. And we'll come across teams that want to play it that way, but we're controlling the ball, we're controlling our fate. We'll have a look. What ends up happening is Mick, and look, it's actually pretty good vision, Mick. I'll pay you, because there's a lot that you've got players there dropping back to receive the ball. I think it's Benji, is it? No, there might be Mal. Anyway, drops back, does a really good job of receiving it, turning and getting the ball. Problem is, though, if he doesn't control it, then they have the ball in the middle of the pitch, heaps of space. Our backs are here. They've got a 4-on-2 here. Oh, sorry, 3-on-2. So, and momentum, if they go that way, as it turns out, will flow. Now, this is an example, I think, options here for you, Mal. And this is something we did not do enough of. The easy ball here is just take the easy pass. There's nothing wrong with taking the easy pass. I think that's probably Benji there is my guess, because this is it's after 20 minutes. I thought we did our first easy ball to Benji. Benji can then get his eyes up and have a little dribble. Gives you a chance to go someplace else. We've got players like out here. We've got Will with space. We've got Hayden with space. Nathan's got a 2-on-1. Most of the season, you're going to have a 2-on-1. There's going to be two players on, more defenders on you. You're not going to be 1-on-1 very often, Nathan, because if you're 1-on-1 in the box, more often than not, you're probably going to get a shot away. And that's going to give us a high probability of scoring. But if we can get the ball to Benji there, Benji's then got some space, and that creates a whole myriad of passing opportunities. There's a through ball to Hayden. Hayden can drop and receive. There's potentially a ball straight to Nathan. There's also the chance to go over the top to find Will. Will creates this space really well. He's operating as a conventional winger, which means he's right-footed on the right-hand side, so it opens up shooting and crossing from the flank. So we'll see how it rolls out. Really good, really good. So that's exactly what we want. Let the ball do the work. Benji drives. So this probably goes to decision making. In my opinion, a better option here is for Nathan to hold and receive the pass. Because if Nathan holds and receives the pass, we then have we've still got possession of the ball. If he does that, Will can make a run that way. So he can make a run that way. Okay. And post, while Nathan figures out what he wants to do, we've got Max, who can run into this space and receive a dish. That allows Nathan to turn and make a run towards goal, where Max has got his head up and all the time in the world to get his eyes forward and weigh the pass. Instead, we've taken on it's a pretty low probability pass. Their back four's really well positioned. Bang, all four in the row. They're very narrow though, so there's lots of space. We did not do a good job of exploiting space on Wednesday night. All of this territory in here, Hayden owns that. And Will pretty much owns anything out here because there's no one beyond him. So let's see what happens. So gone too direct. Even if Nathan gets the ball there, he's got two defenders in front of him. So it's just a little bit too direct, boys. And it's important as well for you, Nathan. Drop, receive, and then play us through, because we're still a fair way away from goal. Bit of patience, that's all. Otherwise, it's good play. We created the opportunity. We were in possession. But I do think we should have put these guys to bed. Honestly, we should have put these guys to bed within the first 20 minutes of this game if we were playing the football that we are going to play. As it turned out, the longer the game went on, the more opportunity they got to come into it. Okay, so here's something that we're going to be chattering about. We have Major on the ball here. You've got Luke Payne. You've got, Male, I think. So here's what we have in terms of players. Um, so you've got number 8. He's going to come across and shut you down. But what they do have is they've got these 3 guys. And what are they doing? Well, they are forming a channel. It's going to be very difficult to get a measured, accurate pass through there. Even if you can, they've got 3 defenders here. So, yes, Will's presenting for the ball, but it's probably not the best to give him the ball because he's going to have at least, he's basically, you give the ball to Will there, he's going to have this defender come up, this defender come up, and then he's going to get squeezed from these directions. So he's really going to find it problematic. A better option in this situation is just respect the ball. Okay, so who have we got here? So we've got this. So we've got these balls. Good options. Okay. Luke makes a run over here to create space. Gosh, you can see me try to hit that, can't you? You take a little bit of time. Options, you can pass to Luke. What that means then is if we get the ball to there, ball to Luke there, we open up all of these options, okay? So we've got Luke W here, who can step up, step into the gap and open up the pitch. We've got Hayden over the side there who can step up, and we've got Benji who's in the middle who could then link up with the striker. It allows you then to drop. So if you pass to Luke, then you can drop and support as the centre back, Major. Instead, you execute. Oh, you go over the top. Okay, so you've gone over the top to Nathan. Does present an opportunity if Nathan can drop it down to Benji, but it gets defended. So one of the problems with that is because it's a lob pass, the first thing Nathan has to do is when he receives the ball is control the ball, which gives the defender the chance to get into position and get pressure onto him, and it also gives the opposition an opportunity to adjust and make life more difficult for you. So look, it's not a massive criticism, but it's the kind of pass that we're going to be making if we're chasing the game, if you like, as opposed to at this point where we're under control of the ball, we're comfortable, we're trying to get into the game. It's just very, very direct and a little unnecessary. Okay, so this is an example of, okay, so we've got Will here. Yeah, so this situation, as we'll roll it through, he's lost the ball. A little bit of this is players becoming familiar with each other. I'll take it back through and we'll find what we can get. Okay, goes up to there. Goes to there. Okay, now, Major, you have possession again. Now, this is about a minute further on from the last example that I showed you, so you're on the ball. In terms of passing options, I don't know why we've got, God, who is that? Mal and Max practically holding hands in the middle. Will's asking for the ball, and there is the option there. To me, though, there's no dishonor in accepting the easy pass. Pass here to Max. Max can then turn, and we've got all sorts of options to play forward, including Luke W running onto the ball here. Okay. But that's where the numbers are. Will's here. Will has a player inside of him. He's going to set it back there, and he's got this chap. So I just think what I would like from my centre backs is higher percentage football, okay? Because this is higher percentage football. Passing it to Max, who is one of our best ball carriers, where we get also opens up the space, opens up the park. We've got a lot of players through here. All of our midfielders are bunched here, and we've kicked to an isolated winger. Okay, so we need to go higher percentage. This is higher percentage because it's an easier pass, because and then Max has easier passes. This is it's a well executed pass, but it's not really going to help us too much, and we can see that by just how quickly we'll get shut down. It's a great pass to execute, but who cares? And even if you look at it there, he's got 3 blokes on him. So it's not really the best pass. Looks good, it's like, oh, well done, you threaded it through there. but we just really need to be a little bit more mindful and respectful of the possession. So what I do want to track back to is I'm going to go back to 40-22 because that's where the start of this goal was. Okay, so the ball's here. Zach receives it. Now you've got the ball. So in this situation, yes, we do have the ball here to Luke. I'll just highlight that so that everyone can see it. Yes, we do have the ball to Luke, but the problem Luke has is he's got a player about to come onto him and put pressure on his ability to retain the ball. He's got another player who's here, another player who's here, and another player who's here. So if Luke does anything other than control that football very, very precisely, he's very likely to turn it over because he's got players converging on him. So anything that goes this way, he's got. Anything in front of him, he's got. This guy's going to be into his back, and anything this way, he's going to have. And even if he does receive the ball, he's got his back to goal, and options aren't really ideal. So in this situation, to me, we just manage possession. Okay. You've got Luke here. Now I can see, I think it's Luke pointing some direction. Um, it's a difficult pass for Zach to execute that ball over to Hayden because it's his non-dominant foot. So to me, a really good option in this situation is for Luke to drop. So Luke can drop and receive the ball. After Zach passes, Zach can drop, Francis can drop, and Zach can create width once we're in possession. And then we've got the opportunity to turn really. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You've also got the opportunity that potentially Hayden could execute a run coming back to receive the ball here and support Luke by giving him an option to pass that way. Okay, so that's higher percentage football as opposed to kicking a contested ball into the middle where Luke's in danger of having a 5-on-1. So you need to create passing lanes, okay, and create numbers in an area. Let's see how it unfolds. Okay, so yep, you've gone to Hayden. Hayden wasn't coming to. Now, Hayden, this is something we're talking about with respect to you need to come back and receive the ball. But to be fair, I don't really think Hayden was expecting that ball because the pass really wasn't on. What happens from here is they break. Now, this is them setting up exactly how they want to set up. You can't see the radar, but Mick's going to be on the edge of the box, which is exactly where he needs to be. In this situation, when they're driving like that, what we need to do is a back four, and I'm actually really happy with the line that we've formed. Passes it through. Okay, so now Luke's got the ball. Now, this is a problem. I think it's Mal. Mal's on the ball, hasn't come to the ball. Okay. The better pass there would probably have been behind Mal so that Mal could turn and run to it, or just to settle on possession and pass out here and take advantage of the width and find Hayden. Be very careful of misdirected passes in the middle of the pitch. They win it. Okay, they win it. Still not a whole lot on. You've got Francis who's out of position. You've got Francis who's playing centre back. Max is, I think that's Max is trying to come back. Over here, I think it's Zach. You need to be goal side of this guy. If you are goal side of your man here, Zach, like you are here, and your man is goal side of you. So as soon as that ball turns over, you need to not be flat-footed watching. You need to be getting yourself in between this player and goal. And you'll see why if we let it roll. Boom. And the little wobbly there. He then gets the ball, comes through. He just rolls on it, and they're through. This is an issue. That's what creates it. Yes, poorly considered passing creates the opportunity for them in the middle of the pitch, but he then outlegs you. Mick does a pretty good job here. He gets himself makes himself big, forces the striker to shoot wide, which he does. Now, Zach's got sucked in to try to shut down the ball. Yeah, look, that's what's going to happen. I mean, in reality, Francis got pulled out of position because he's come up into the middle of the pitch. Francis doesn't normally play centre back. Um, Mick forces the striker to shoot wide, hits the post. I would argue the only reason that's bounced straight back into the field of play is because they were those square goalposts anyhow, and they've managed to get in there and score. So it's a bit of a dog shit goal to concede, but it's a goal that we could have prevented conceding. I now want to go forward to 58-32. Because what we're going to talk about at 58-32, this is an example of drop. I believe I've got this earmarked as an example of dropping in for Hayden. So as I've talked about, Mal and Hayden plays inverted wingers. So here we go. So there he is. So waiting, rolling. Okay. So in this situation, there's not really much going on. Your option, Hayden, there, it's very unlikely that Luke's going to get a through ball into you there. So a better option is to create width and drop so that you can link up. So if you create width, drop into this spot, it makes it very easy for Luke to get you the ball, and you then have space and you can then drive or you can link up. But at the moment, all of our players are behind Luke and he's got his back to the ball. And he's got his back to them. So that's what you need to be doing, is getting out here so that you can link up and then we can play through. Being a winger doesn't mean running straight towards goal all the time. It's one of the perils of having inverted wingers is they end up very direct. So because you're wanting to get the ball onto your right foot, so you're going to run infield because that's your dominant foot. Next. So we'll let it play through. So, look, once again, he's got the space. He's asking you to do a lot. You've got the ball, and to be fair, you've done very well. But by God, you've got it all to do. And once again, there's nothing wrong with respecting the football. So you've got this, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this, you've got this. So they have plenty of players in between you and the goal, and there's only one other player who's going to be able to affect the play, which is Luke there. So we can let it roll through. Now, because you're playing on that side, the cross is not on because I don't know that you've got a strong enough left foot to get that cross in where it needs to go. So that's something to think about there. 59-25 is my next coaching point. Okay. So, 59-25. So that's a clearance, and that's fine. I suppose the point, look, what I was pointing out in this instance is just a little bit of awareness. So the ball's come over there, become scrappy now. In this situation, there's the option to take a touch. There's the option to pass it out to the left or the right. So you've got to the ball. You're getting to the ball well before the defender. So you've got the chance to take a touch. So in that situation, take a touch because you've got plenty of our players around you. This is something we did a lot. We got way too bunched. And a lot of it's just not having confidence in playing with the group that we're playing with. And it rolls out there. So 59-34. Okay, so this got the ball. Good work. Now found space. Now at this point in time, and this is the disadvantage of an inverted winger. You're going to want to cut in because that's where your right foot is. You don't want to go to your left because you're a left footer. We're going to actually flip things around against Pine Hills, and we're just going to play wingers on their conventional side and create different opportunities. So in this situation, you've got the winger. Just take your time and find the right pass. Good ball. Good boy. So that's really good. Now that there, Nathan, was not the right pass. Um, so ball goes over. So Hayden's done a good job and you've called for it. You've got it. Okay. So Nathan, you've received the ball there. You've got players. You've got a lot of players around you. Not really a lot of good options moving forward. So you got to find another option. So you can stop the ball because we do have options in the middle of the pitch. We do have that through ball, but then stop, cut it back onto your right, which is a good option. But that pass is just sort of going to nowhere. You can see Max over here. He's got his arm pointing into space because if we can get the ball out there into space, off you go, and then we've got room. So it's just an example of forcing the pass. I think we did a lot of forcing the pass. Okay. So 59-63 with space. All right, yeah, so this was Nathan passing through. Finally, one thing I wanted to cover was the back four. And this is a really, look, we can play the game at our pace, particularly at the level that we're playing. So one thing I wanted to highlight in this section at the back, we can move the ball forward on our terms, no one else's terms. We decide when we move the ball forward. So in this instance, once we get to it, and these last three are all focused on the back four. So we're driving the ball out. Now look, we've got plenty of time, okay? As we assess this, we don't need to lump it anywhere. Our back four is spread out right across the pitch. I can't see the radar, and we've got Mick here. In terms of their pressing group, 1, 2, 3, potentially a fourth. So, in terms of options and opportunities, we can pass here. Worst comes to worst, he can pass back. In this situation, I think we move to Mick, and then Mick's got the opportunity to take a touch. Once Mick takes a touch, this guy's going to come towards Mick. Very likely, both of them are going to come towards Mick. Mick then has the outlet pass here, and then we have the outlet pass here. We've also got this Mal's over here, so that presents an opportunity. Not for the right centre back to kick over to there. I'm sure that's. I'm trying to figure out where, because we're missing a centre back as best as I can tell, because that looks like Major. Anyway, so my point is, so we've gone for the pass here, coming out of midfield. It's not a bad option, but it puts a lot of pressure on the pass, and then we get squeezed. So we've done it the hard way, but notice we've got closed down out here. So they've got four players. They've really, I don't know whether I'd really call it a well-executed press. They just get numbers around the ball and crowd it. So in that situation, I think we can move the ball. We can create the space. If we go back to 65-07, this was an opportunity where they were getting on for them. If we then lump it up, which you can kick beyond a press, but we just need to not. We don't have to do it all the time. That doesn't need to be our only option, if you like. Okay, so in this situation, this is a good example. Ball's here, Mick's here, Zach's here. So the solution in this situation, pass to Mick. Mick can take a pass. Mick can then pass over here, can then pass to Luke, can then pass here. Now, the faster we do that, okay, the faster the faster we can execute that passing routine, bearing in mind that there are only two of them. So they're going to slide. What's probably going to happen is this guy is probably going to try to slide onto Mick. So he's going to slide this way. This guy's going to come in here. So it may be the worst case scenario is that Mick just needs to. The worst case scenario is Mick needs to kick further over. It may be, Luke, if you read this play, maybe you need to drop in more, okay? Because if you drop shallower, that then makes it easier. So what you do by dropping is you effectively give Mick or Zach more time, okay? And Luke, as you've already done at other times in the game, you can also move into this space and own this space, which then gives you the chance to pass out here. So if we go back and start it from scratch, we have the ball here to Mick, to Zach. May need involvement here, but we can just run it all the way around them. So 1-2, he's going to be trying to pressure the ball. He'll probably try to split you two. That's why Luke dropping into here is a good idea, and that's why Luke dropping back to here. Then gives us this pass and this pass. But what it has to do is it has to go through the feet. If we play it, now this is really dangerous because what's ended up happening is the ball, you've attempted to cut out the goalkeeper, and this puts Zach under a lot of pressure and invites the striker. The ball has to go to Mick and go through and around. And it just forces Zach to just hack it upfield. So that was completely avoidable. Mick, Zach, Luke, you can drop in. Hayden, you can drop back. Luke Payne, you can drop in and back. That could have gone really, really, really badly. So we'll now move up to 68-35, which is something similar. The thing about the back four is you guys are almost always going to have a numerical advantage. Okay, so in this situation, I think you're fine. Okay, yeah, this is not what I wanted. Okay, so this is what we're talking about here. Okay, so the ball's here now. The striker in this situation has done a good job, and he has managed to get close enough to Luke that when Luke turns, he's in strife. Having said that, there's no real danger. You can see Mick's fairly relaxed back there because there's really not a huge amount of danger. Options are Zach drops in and offers the opportunity for a back pass. Hayden drops in and offers the opportunity to play to the space. Particularly in this game, because they really don't pay a lot of attention to the space. So Luke has the option of going back to Zach. He has the option of coming wide to Hayden. As it turns out, I think the way this works, the striker really does commit. Okay, now it goes out to Hayden. So that's good. That's what we want. I would note, Hayden, you've got the ball. So options you have is to basically pass for Luke to execute an overlapping run, receive the ball, and then he can dribble into the space that you've created. Need to be very careful because there's a lot that can go wrong here. Dwelled on it a little bit too long, but that's okay. We still got the ball. This guy's turning in, so you've got time here. The good thing that we can do here is we can get them to commit players. And if we get them to commit players to this part of the pitch, then we have space somewhere else. What I would like to see in this situation from Max is starting to drop into the defensive midfielder role. Luke, drop in. Zach, you're obviously once the ball's going that way, you're going to have to slide. And Major, you hold position. So we'll see how it unfolds. Okay, so good ball to Luke. The problem we do have though is as soon as Luke receives the ball, he's going to be under pressure immediately. But the ball But you have Major with heaps of time. So that's the pass. The pass is pass into this space for Major, and then we can recycle. Okay, we can recycle. Zach can come across. Luke can drop in. Hayden can slide. So we can basically reset. If we go to Major, we need to be very careful in this situation because if we turn over the ball in the middle of the pitch, then we're very likely to concede the opportunity for a counter attack. And this is whoever this kid's name is. He is just ran around basically clattering into people all night. And you cannot guarantee. So now that was definitely not the pass. Okay. You pass to Riley under a lot of pressure. Even if Riley wins the ball and turns, he's still got defenders in front of him. So the better pass there was to Major. And as we see, look, honestly, this should have been a goal. They've managed to do a hatchet job on a goal here. Issues that we had there, Luke, where you have your back, essentially you're back to the player who you're playing the ball to. We just need to choose the high percentage plays. Okay, you could have almost checked it back and gone to Zach if you were worried about playing in the middle. These are things we need to tidy up. Okay. Finally, we're just going to go to 73.40. I think this is the one we already looked at, actually. I've gone backwards in time. Okay. Yeah. So this was the one where you just have to use Mick and not slide past Mick. So I'll put that down. And what I'm going to bring up now is the team sheet for tomorrow. So this is going to be how we're going to start tomorrow, and I'll explain my plans, my expectations, etc., etc. We're going to start with the centre backs of Zach Mason and Isaac. We're going to have Luke Williams starting at left back, and we're going to have Zach Millichet at right back. We're going to start, for the purpose of the team sheet, this is actually listed as two central defensive midfielders. In reality, what it's going to be is an opportunity to have a defensive midfielder, a more central midfielder, and a more attacking midfielder. So what that will really look like is Major as a defensive midfielder and Max as a more central midfielder. However, in defence, Max will drop back and create a second defensive midfielder. Something else that's significant is I have swapped I've started with Hayden on the bench, and I have Mal on the left, and I have Will on the right. So we're basically playing with conventional wing backs or wingers. So the right-sided winger is a right-footed player, which means that crosses are going to be the emphasis, squaring the ball, crossing the ball, as opposed to cutting back onto your preferred foot and shooting. Nathan's obviously up front. Things that I want to focus on, as we covered early on, is first of all, winning the physical contest. Okay, winning the physical contest is going to be really important. We need to play through the lines. That may involve dropping back to receive and then either turning to face and attacking, or receive the ball and then play to someone who is facing forward and can do that. Find the easy pass to move the ball and use the width. With the defense and the back four, be patient. We can move the ball around that back four with safe, accurate passing, and the more we do it, the better things will be. And the more we do it, the more we control the game. Use the width, and importantly, move the ball through your feet. Patience in attack. Remember, drop and pass to play through. Find the width, find the space, and be patient. We don't have to try the killer pass. If it's not on, just build up. Just retain the ball and we'll find another through pass, because the more time you make the opposition spend defending in their own box, the higher the probability that they're going to make a mistake. And that's what we're waiting on. All right. So this is how we'll start. We will change that up. What I'm thinking of doing is playing one half with conventional wingers and then the second half with inverted wingers. Will's more than capable of playing as an inverted winger. He played left and right hand side for us. Last year. We have Luca tomorrow. I'd like to see how Luca goes. I have a plan of basically rotating Major and Francis through that central defensive midfield role. But I will also at some point have to give Zach a bit of a rest with his legs at right back. So, so let's get in there. First of all, we need to get control of the game, and we'll do that by competing physically and respecting the ball. And then we will see where we go from there. Up front, we've got Nathan, Riley, and Mal. And none of those four have played a lot of football, if any, with each other. We are training at home, so that will give us the opportunity to use proper facilities. So we can actually, on Tuesday, a focus will be instead of just working with the back four as we were doing at Somerset because we didn't actually have goals, we'll be working on this overlapping runners, etc., etc. All right. So that's it, boys. Watch the video. I'm not going to be happy if I turn up tomorrow and no one's watched this. We will reverse certain key points tomorrow. Rest up. Tomorrow is the next step on our way towards starting the season with all eyes on the 8th of February. Thank you, boys.